Let me show you how to solve a case.
Please welcome the wickedly talented one and only Adele Hazeem.
Welcome to episode 5348 of The Muddling. Now, as a reminder, I'm not here to slander anyone. These are just my own opinions. I also pull things out of my ass and falsely accuse people. All in a quest to solve the Idaho 4 murders. Even though law enforcement has already found the suspect. Now, this video may be hard for you to follow if you haven't watched the previous 5,347 videos. So you might want to go back and take a look at those. But let's get started. In this episode, we are going to talk about the cars and the people that were seen that morning on King Road and Linda Lane. Now, we need to start with this young lady, Abby Kadabi. I have it on good authority that she got a hold of the 2013 Hyundai Elantra, the same one that was seen crashed in Oregon, but I have it on good authority that she had it in her possession prior to the murders up there in Moscow, Idaho. Now, I can't prove it, but I have it on good authority. Now, what I believe happened is that Snuffleupagus purchased that vehicle down in Phoenix, Arizona at Rainbow Motors. Now, I've looked into it, and it was definitely Rainbow Motors in Phoenix, Arizona. And I believe Snuffy drove that vehicle up to Spokane, at which point Abby Kadabi obtained possession of it, drove it down to Moscow in preparation for the murders. Now, you might be saying, "Oh, Adele Hazeem, how do you know that those two knew each other?" And I'll show you this map of Oregon. Because, see, Snuffy, he had lots and lots of relatives living in the Eugene area. And Abby Kadabi, she was living over here in Vida, Oregon. And that's just a hop, skip, and a jump to Eugene. I mean, it's like 200 feet from Eugene. So, of course, they had to have known each other. They probably ran into each other in the only grocery store in the area. So, don't ever doubt old Adele Hazeem. She puts everything together for you. Now, what I believe happened next is Snuffy and Abby enlisted the help of Grover. Now, even though Grover has a similar last name to Abby, no one can find that they're related. However, I still think they're related. Yeah, you can't tell old Adele Hazeem that they're not related. I believe they're related. And just simply by virtue of both of them living in Moscow and also having family members that are in other towns in Idaho, I believe they know each other and may even be related. So I believe that these three were the masterminds behind the murders. And I will show you exactly where each one of them was at that night. Now, I don't believe Abby Kadabi had anything to do with the actual implementation that morning. She just helped in the planning, and she held on to the 2013 Elantra so that Grover could pick it up. So the morning of the murders, Grover picked up the 2013 Elantra from Abby, and then Snuffleupagus was in his BMW X6. Now, Mrs. Snuffleupagus purchased that vehicle in black, but Snuffy decided to get it wrapped in white so that he could use it for the crime. No word on how Mrs. Snuffy felt about that. But we know that both Grover and Snuffleupagus were seen in the King Road and Linda Lane neighborhoods. Now, also in the vicinity that night was Oscar the Grouch. Because he is good at hiding out in garbage cans, he was next to the dumpster on Linda Lane. keeping an eye out, making sure the coast was clear. And then we have Bert. Bert, aka Brian Kohberger, was lured there to pick up drugs. No word who lured him there. We think it may have been Cookie Monster. We also believe Cookie Monster could have been the DoorDash driver. But whatever the reason, he was seen driving in front of the King Roadhouse. And at some point, we believe he got out of the vehicle and went in the house. And his bushy eyebrows are very distinct. And so one of the roommates saw the bushy eyebrows. But he didn't do it. He was just a victim of circumstance. But let's take a look at the map. So as you can see, you have Snuffleupagus over in the BMW X6. He is seen on Linda Lane. He picks someone up. We believe that is one of the accomplices that I believe could be one of his Arizona pals that was busted with him. You can also see that we have Grover. He was circling around. He was the car that I believe law enforcement thinks was Bert's car, aka Brian Kohberger's. And you can see Oscar the Grouch also by the dumpster on Linda Lane, being very covert. And then you'll see Bert driving around. So you have Bert in his 2015 Elantra. You have Grover in his 2013 Elantra. And you have Snuffy in his 2022 BMW X6. And at some point, Grover, along with two other people associated with Snuffleupagus, went in the house and committed the murders. And as I said, Bert, aka Brian Kohberger, was just a victim of circumstance. Then after the murders, I believe that Snuffleupagus took off for Spokane, then headed across the state over to his home in Tacoma, and then drove down to Eugene, Oregon. Now, mind you, this was all in the 2013 Hyundai Elantra. Not sure what he did with his X6. He may have kept it with Abby Kadabi in the meantime. But then he wrecked and left the Elantra where homeless people were found living in it, and Moscow Police Department decided to ignore it because they were already focused in on Bert. Now you might say, oh, Adele Hazeem, how do you know all this? Well, old Adele here, she just knows because she's done countless hours of research and she vets things. Like I tell you other creators, you need to vet. You could be better creators if you vet. And I have done my research. And I am sending this all to Ann Taylor, all 5,348 episodes of the Muddling, because I have gift wrapped it and tied the bow on top. I have solved this crime. And Bert, aka Brian Kohberger, will be out of jail in time for Christmas. And you might ask, why do you think Anne will be receptive to your findings? Well, that's because Anne showed my videos in court. And I know she watches old Adele Hazeem. So, thank you for watching another episode of The Muddling. As always, I'm Adele Hazeem. And remember, if you're not pulling things out of your ass, then you're just not really investigating.